Thank you all for being here today. We're going to get started in just a moment here.
We need one more chair.
All right, folks. So thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Armani White. I'm the Executive Director of Reclaim Roxbury. We're one of the organizations hosting this forum tonight. Before this, as you all know, if you were here, we had a District 7 candidate forum. We heard from 9 great candidates. And up here, we have candidates for Boston City Council at large and incumbents, of course, but yeah, candidates in the current council. And they're excited to talk to you all. We're going to go through the list of rules so that you all know how things will go. So you're going to start off. Okay. So all responses are limited to 60 seconds, all right? And we're going to be holding up times on those cards with 6 minutes intervals. When you see that time, that means you have 30 seconds. And the crowd, I'm going to need you all to back me up again. 15 seconds, that means you have 15 seconds left. This last one, time's up. Everyone, what do we do when time's up? So we clap when the time's up. So if you're new here, once again, if you see this sign, what do you do? Clap. Yeah, so this is how we're going to help us move through this agenda. We see the sign go up, you're going to clap. So we're going to practice that one more time, but I only heard them clapping.
Ready, 1, 2, 3.
Yes. All right. Awesome. So we have our moderators here tonight as well. We have Saraya Wintersmith, Yawu Miller, 2 amazing journalists from our community. Give them a round of applause. Give me 1 second. Come on. Okay. So 60 seconds, you're going to have for your intro. All right, so it's 60 seconds, and then if you don't go over, we'll start clapping. 60 seconds for the actual open question that we're going to ask you, okay? We're going to ask a couple. If you get named, mentioned by name, which we're not encouraging you to do, but if you get mentioned by name, you have 15 seconds to respond, okay? Just 15 seconds, though, okay? All right, and then once the timer has been reached, again, the audience claps. We're going to try that one more time. All right. And we're going to try to hold applause only for when we're trying to cut the candidates off at the end. We really want to get to the agenda. We have a lot of questions and we have a lot of candidates, which is great, so we want to do it all. So with no further ado, I'm going to pass it to my moderators and we're going to get started. Thank you all for being here. One more thing, give you all yourselves a round of applause for being here. I don't say the other organizations that helped make this happen. There's been a lot of people who came together to make this happen. We have Right to the City Vote Action, Boston Ward 4 Democratic Committee, New England Community Projects, MassVOTE, Fenway CDC, Madison Park Development Corporation, Fenway, Mass Alliance of Tenants, NAACP Boston, Reclaim Roxbury, the Chinese Progressive Association, True Alliance Center, Maha, and RoxVote. So this is a true work of community love to make this forum happen. So enjoy it.
All right, great. We're going to jump right in with opening statements. We're going to move from my left to the right, starting with Will Onouha.
Thank you and good evening, everybody. My name is Will Onouha, and I run the City Council at large. Please forgive me if I sound stuffy. I just had surgery the other day, so just bear with me. But I mean, Boston is the best city in the world. It has given me and countless others access to limitless opportunity. When you love something as much as I love it, this city, it's important not just to celebrate our successes, but also to identify our challenges and work to fix them. That is what I am committed to doing as a professional, what I'm committed to do to you, for you, as your city councilor at large. I'm a Boston kid that grew up on Mission Hill in the 1980s. I'm from a large Nigerian family, attended high-quality parochial and public schools. I graduated from PPS, I graduated from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and also went on to law school. It is my honor to represent this city. I have spent the last 20 years of my life working in various city departments, running various city departments, doing the day-to-day work, so I know what it takes to fix our city.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cindy What? Hello, we're gonna start all over. Y'all hear me? All right. So I'm Boston City Council at large, Mejia. For those who may not know me, I'm infamously known as the one-vote wonder, the little chihuahua on the city council, because what my job is to do is to fight. I'm an independent voice who understands the importance of what full governance is all about. Under the leadership of our office, we've managed to pass over 17 pieces of legislation, have created countless organizational structure in the city of Boston, from departments to city positions, to ensure that we are advancing racial and civil rights issues here in the city of Boston. And additionally, when I talk about being independent, under our leadership, we were the office that stopped the O'Brien from Roxbury to West Roxbury. We're also the office that took a stand around the equity issues around the White Stadium. And we're also the office that, when it comes to what you want, our job is to listen. And you can always count on me to show up for my people. And my mic is dipping in and out, but I hope that y'all can hear my big mouth. And know that for me, this work is personal and professional.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm Erin Murphy, your at-large city councilor. I'm honored every day to wake up and represent the city of Boston and across the city of Boston. I am running for re-election, I'm in my 4th year and looking forward to continuing the work we started. I often say I went from the classrooms to City Hall, spent over 20 years as BPS classroom teacher, advocating for my students, for their families, uplifting their voices. It was the reason I ran for office, because I know we're a rich city, but not every resident and not every neighborhood across the city feels as though they're connected to the resources that we need to make sure we're connecting them to every day. So in City Hall, my team, we're waking up every day, we're going across their city, we're uplifting their voices, and in City Hall, we're doing the work. Also alongside Councilman here, she mentioned, when residents reach out, I make sure that I uplift their voices. It was the first, I was the first one to come out, along with other colleagues, I guess, about pushing back on moving the O'Briens, making sure that I stood with residents up at Franklin Park and asked the questions that we need answers to. It's important.
Thank you, Councilor Santana.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Santana. I have the great honor of being your at-large city councilor in the city of Boston. Currently my first term. Very quickly, for those of you who don't know me, I was born in the Dominican Republic, came to Boston at the age of 3. Proud product of our BHA public housing. I grew up in Mission Hill, out of state of BHA apartments. And I often say I'm a city kid. I'm a product of our after-school programs, our summer programs, our schools here. And because of that, my number one priority has been and will continue to be our youth. We've created many different programs within our office, a citywide youth program called Santana's Youth Voices. We've created a citywide coalition of adults too, Santana's Cape. So we're about, really being community, really trying to prioritize our youth in all the decision making that we're doing. And I'm running for re-election because there's a lot more work to be done. There's a lot more programs that we need to make sure that we're prioritizing. And right now, especially as a Dominican immigrant, as a background,
Hi everyone, I'm Louijeune, at-large city councilor and president of the Boston City Council. It is a joy to be with all of you to make my case for re-election. I hope I can earn your vote. This is my 4th year on the Boston City Council, and it is such a joy to serve each and every one of you. I consider myself a daughter of the city. My parents chose Boston as immigrants to be coming here Black, poor, facing discrimination, trying to find a job, working in working class wages so that me and my sisters, so that our stories can be possible. Started my career as an attorney representing families facing eviction and foreclosure as a student at the Harvard Legal Aid Bureau. On the city council, housing has been my number one priority. For folks returning home from incarceration, for folks who are returning home from all sorts of situations, for our immigrant communities, I reject any zero-sum game that says that we can't care for one group, we can't care for another. We have to care for everyone at the same time. As a BPS kid, we need to invest in our schools, new school buildings. I take it as a point of pride that my first constituent service when I was first elected was here, making sure that there were trash cans on Warren Street. I love this city. Thank you so much for your support.
Marvin, Mathelier.
How y'all doing? My name is Marvin Mathelier. Hey, look, I'm a public servant, been my whole life. I've been serving the United States Marine Corps Reserves for 16 years. I'm a combat veteran. I've been to the front lines of Afghanistan, and I continue to serve in civil military operations. I don't say honor, courage, commitment, integrity, transparency, and accountability as a thing. That's part of me. That's what the Marine Corps has been part of me, and I want to make sure that that's also part of City Hall. I used to work for the Executive Office of Veteran Services for the state of Massachusetts, serving veterans throughout the whole Commonwealth, ensuring that they get the housing, financial support that they need. I am the owner of Food Cafe, which is a Jamaican play. I'm the executive director of the only and first Haitian Culture Center, the Tucson Culture Center. And the greatest pride that I have is being a dad to Bo, Nora, Zoe, and a husband to my amazing wife. I got 50 seconds back. And all in all, I want to ensure that we are focusing on housing affordability, BPS, and along with our school system. And if you vote for me, I want to be a voice for all of you at City Hall. That's all.
Thank you, Alexandra Valdez.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches a todos. I know that this rain didn't stop any of us from being here. I immigrated from the Dominican Republic at the early age of 10 years old. After overcoming many obstacles and earning a seat at the table, I am proud to say that I now make our city more accessible and equitable for everyone. As the Executive Director of the Office of Culture Affairs, I work every single day to expand cultural programming across all zip codes and uplift voices that are too often left out of our city's story. I won't sit here and tell you everything I do for the city for the last 10 years because if not, we'll be here all night. But what I'll do is, I tell you what I'm running. I'm running for more affordable housing, education specifically for our little ones, across all zip codes, strong neighborhoods, and strong leadership matters. And I'm ready to do that on day one. I will continue advocating for the City of Boston residents because I have never stopped. Thank you.
Thank you. First off, thank you for all the organizers and also the moderators. My name is Frank Baker. I spent 12 years on the Boston City Council as a district council for District 3, and I spent 25 years in a city department before that. What I'm going to bring to you in this race will be common sense and experience. I'm going to focus on recovery and job training. There's multiple job training things that are happening right now that have my fingerprints on them. Bioversity over at the Globe. The New Market Square Business Association has a job training component, and also Trades Not Triggers with T. Michael back there. Big part of my life. Again, common sense and experience and answering the phone, connecting the people of Boston to the city hall. Thank you.
Now we're going to move to open-ended questions. We're going to start to the right with Councilor Baker. The first question is, what is the main way you will advocate to make Boston more affordable?
I think that's through the budget right there, and I think it's in ways of making sure that we're spending our money wisely. I was on the city council when the ARPA money was there. Personally, don't think it was necessarily used the most efficient way. I think there's ways that we could build more affordable housing. It needs to open up more than the traditional ways that we're doing it. I think that's all 100% in the budget and making sure that we're spending money correctly.
Ms. Valdez.
Thank you so much for that question. We know that our city is in need of housing right now. We need to make sure that we are investing in creating more all affordable housing. Creating housing that is for everyone. Not just studios, not just 1 bedroom, 2 and 3 bedrooms, where families can continue to grow in our city. And where generations are able to live in our city and continue to call Boston home. We need to work with community developers that are willing to work hand in hand with our community organizations and individuals, not just a 300-foot radius where they have to fly, but everyone who's outside of that as well. Thank you so much.
I want to be able to continue to fight for more affordable units, full stop. On top of that, too, I want to make sure that we continue to initiate our first homeowner buyers, which also creates generational wealth as well, which is something that we definitely need. On top of that, too, I am for rental stability. I want to work with our state house to ensure that that's something that we're able to push. And I want to take a look at our zoning code. I know that's something that this administration is working on, but I want to ensure that we can be able to take that zoning code, the zoning process, and and make it more streamlined, make it more predictable. So when developers come in, they're not coming in with what budget costs. And then a year later, once they get approved, they have a higher budget cost, which means that they're going to have to spend more money, which means in turn that value of that unit definitely goes up. Those are the things I want to be able to fix and focus on and ensure that everyone has a seat at the table when it comes to the hearing process. I used to work at neighborhood council and neighborhood associations, and I always see the same people, but I never get to see the people that are really being affected. So as a city councilor, I want to make sure that everyone has access to those hearing processes.
Thank you. Housing is the number one issue. It's what keeps me up at night, is the calls that we get. Last year, my office held a hearing on how we're making sure that we want city-owned buildings that are coming offline for their intended purpose, a school that's no longer being used for education purposes, that we ensure that that is being used for affordable housing, right? Not turned into fancy condos that people in our neighborhoods cannot afford. So we are working on an ordinance right now to ensure that those properties, city-owned buildings, city-owned land, that the mayor's office of housing has a requirement to use that for affordable housing as the highest and best use. We are right now in the thick of budget season on the Boston City Council. We've heard great advocacy from folks in the room. I see people here from Chinese Progressive Association, Mass Alliance of HUD Tenants, arguing for more city-based vouchers. City-based vouchers are so important. Last year, through the amendment process, I and other city councils advocated and won more city-based vouchers. We'll do that again because we need to make sure that our people can live in the city, and city-based vouchers and making sure that we're working on an ordinance are two ways that we can.
Thank you. I think we're in the midst of a huge housing crisis here in the city of Boston. I think it's about, the city is one of the most expensive cities to live in America. Massachusetts is one of the most expensive states to be able to live here. And right now, I think we need to be able to add to our toolbox, right, to our toolkit. So the number one thing the first thing I did on the Boston City Council was file a hearing order to explore mixed income social housing. Again, I'm a product of our public housing here in the city of Boston. That gave my family and I an opportunity to stay here, to really thrive here in the city of Boston. It gave us access to all the resources that we needed. I want to take that same model, but everyone deserves high quality housing. That's why I filed mixed income social housing, and I was proud to see that the administration created a housing center rating for $110 million. So it's about adding to our toolkit. I've also I brought in Austin, Texas delegation to see in Austin, Texas, they've actually decreased rental and homeownership opportunities. So really learning from other cities, I was able to bring their delegation.
Thank you. I know it's been said and agreed that housing is so expensive here, and one of the main things we do on the council, hundreds of millions of dollars since I've been here in the last 4 years, advocating to expand more affordable housing in many different ways. Also supporting the downtown office building conversion to apartments is important in supporting that. But I want to talk about education, workforce development. We're world-class eds and meds, but unfortunately our students in BPS are not all getting the same equitable education. 80%, if not more, at some schools are reading below grade level. So when we're graduating our students without the skills needed to get the jobs, and not just entry level, custodian, secretary jobs, but all the way up to CEOs is important to me. So instilling those skills, that hope, shout out to T. Michael and organizations across the city like the base also that start with our kids young, making sure that our residents, our kids in the city of Boston, and we continue to support them after high school, because we know many times when they leave our BPS high schools, they're not equipped to get the jobs they need to stay here.
So I think that housing, even when I ran in 2019, it continues to be. I've always been incredibly aggressive around the IDP. Right now we're at 20. I've been pushing for 50 because what we need to do is keep the demand of what the city's calling for. We really want to keep our people here. I've also been fighting on the city council and really questioning this whole idea because we're getting displaced in high numbers. I'm considering even putting together a hearing order to explore a displacement tax. Every time you displace us, what it would look like if we create a fund, maybe developers would think twice about how they're going to increase that rent on us. I'm also a big supporter of rent control, and one of the other things that we've been doing on this council is pushing for a hyper-local AMI, right? Because what you get paid for in Back Bay looks very different than what you can pay in South Bay and Mattapan. And like Mattapan and even Dorchester, Roxbury, what I'd like to see is the AMI hyper-local, not just Boston. Let's go deeper into these neighborhoods so that we can make sure that those rents reflect the real income of the people that are living on
them. Good evening, everybody. I am the former housing commissioner for the city of Boston, and I'll tell you what I would do if I was on the city council, when I get on the city council. What we need is workforce housing. Affordable housing is not affordable. That's a myth that we tell people. It is not affordable. The reason it's not affordable is because it creates a cycle of poverty, because if you make any more than what you're supposed to make, you're kicked out of your housing. But when you create workforce housing, here's what happens. You create a situation, something that we wrote in 2022 called the Analysis of Impediments to Housing. And what that does for you is it says, no one is supposed to pay more than 30% of their income in housing. When you create workforce housing, someone that makes anywhere from $60,000 to $250,000 can actually live in the city of Boston, pay their rent, and also still have enough money to pay for children, pay for families, and take care of their other responsibilities. We need workforce housing, because that means the rest of us and all of us will be included in the housing, not just affordable. Thank you.
Hi, so we're going to go in the opposite direction. That means, Will, you'll begin this next round of questioning. What is the main thing you'll do to support communities that have been targeted by ICE?
So, thank you very much. That's a very good question. The simple truth about that with ICE is that there's nothing the city council really can do when it comes to ICE, because it's the federal government. As a lawyer, I'm telling you that. However, what we can do is educate our immigrant community. You see, what happens is right now, we are going through the next 4 years are going to be very tough with the current administration that's in office. So in order for us to protect our immigrant community, so one thing we have to tell them is if you're an immigrant, you're undocumented, or any of those kind of things, stay off of social media. That's the first thing. Second, we teach them about what is called crimes of moral turpitude, because this is what they use to deport you. So stay off social media. Do not say anything bad about the government, and do everything we can right now to work with our federal congresswomen and congressmen to make sure that we speed up the process so they can get green cards and visas to actually stay and become permanent residents. That's how we handle that.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia.
So for those who know, my mom was undocumented when I was growing up, so this is an issue that is near and dear to me. I want to note that I think I'm the only candidate that's here, aside from Frank, that survived Trump, the version previous. And so in the version of 2.0, I'm prepared to stand up to Trump. And I think on the city council, we can do a lot. We established the Trust Act in 2014, and what my office has been doing is figuring out how we can strengthen the Trust Act. My office also organized a rally of 500 people who showed up and said, we are going to protect our undocumented loved ones, and we're going to stand up to ICE whenever we need to. Our office is also working alongside community organizations to develop the infrastructure for mutual aid, because what I believe is that the real power lies with the people and developing the resources and the infrastructure so communities can have the tools that they need to educate and engage and support our undocumented loved ones. And we have to start recognizing that on the local level is where the biggest impact is going to be made, because we're the ones who are going to be standing in.
Thank you. 2014, the city council did pass the Trust Act. We, the council here, the four at large, did vote to unanimously pass that again to support that. But I think it's also working alongside Monique in the Moyer office and the city department to make sure that we are educating our residents and that they know what their rights are. I heard directly from Monique yesterday at a coffee hour where she spoke about making sure that we are not listening to the fears of what we see on social media and spreading fear, because what's happening, and we know, is families are staying out of work, they're staying out of the supermarkets, our children aren't going into our schools, so we have to make sure that we're not spreading rumors that then spread fear across our communities, and that they know that that I'm there on the city council to support that. When you call my office, I will pick up the phone, and when I'm in community, I'll make sure that I'm educating and talking also to the community leaders and nonprofits. There's so many of them across the city. And many of our food pantries and other nonprofits that don't do the work directly with
Councilor Santana.
Thank you. This is deeply personal to me. Again, I was born in the Dominican Republic and was undocumented for so many years here. Became a permanent resident for many years. Just a few years ago, became an American citizen. So this is deeply personal. I know the fear that our immigrant communities are in right now. I've lived it. And I think in terms of things that we're doing here, as Councilman Mejia mentioned, I think we're reviewing, we definitely support the Trust Act, but reviewing it and learning how to strengthen it. How do we strengthen it to protect our BPS students, particularly, right? I've partnered with Mira Coalition, and hosted a Know Your Rights training for our residents here in different languages. So we use it right now, it's really big on educating folks, and making sure that the resources, Councilor Murphy said, the Office of Immigrant Advancement has tremendous resources for our residents. We need to make sure that it's getting out there to our residents, to our families, and again, just making sure it's accessible to all. Thank you.
Thank you. As president of the council last December, upon Trump coming back into office, I made sure that we reaffirmed file that we could reaffirm who we are as a city. And we are a city that believes in our immigrant communities and stands with them. The day after Trump was inaugurated, I am a lawyer. The day after Trump was inaugurated, I'm not an immigration lawyer. We had a clinic in my office, so all of my staff with an immigration lawyer could advise people on first preliminary steps. As someone who is Haitian American, my community is under target of this administration. Every lawsuit that is filed at the federal courthouse, I am there, standing in solidarity with our communities, uplifting the work of the Mira Coalition, uplifting the work of Loose Network. I'm honored that Mira Coalition will be honoring me next week for the work that my office has been doing. We put out an immigrant resource guide. If anybody needs a lawyer, if anyone needs resources, we share that. It's in English, it's in Creole, it's in Spanish, and if anyone wants to help us translate into other languages to make sure that everyone feels comfortable, this is our city, and we need to remind people all the time that Boston is a city for everyone, and that's what
Mr. Mathelier.
Awesome. What makes Boston strong, what makes the United States strong? Diversity in our immigrants. Let's never forget that. And outside of the indigenous people, we're all immigrants. Whether you're a first generation like myself, who's also a son of Haitian immigrants, or if your family's been here for several generations, we're all immigrants. With that all being said, we have to remember our immigrant community contributes to this city, right? And I also support the Trust Act, so I appreciate you, City Council, for pushing that. But I want to make sure that we are not going to bend the knee to this regime that we have at the federal level. We already see it going on right now with a lot of fear that's happening in our city, where people are getting snatched up, ripped away from their family. So there's a lot that we could do at the city council level to ensure that we are reaffirming, reevaluating the Boston Trust Act, the relationship between Boston Police Department and ICE agents, and ensure that there is transparency and accountability happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Valdez.
I won't repeat a lot of what everyone has mentioned, but one of the things is ensuring that we are well-funding organizations that are putting together legal clinics. You mentioned the Office of Immigrant Advancement, which offers on a weekly basis free legal clinics for anyone who signs up. But we need to assure that they're fully funded. We need to assure that there are not waiting lines for people that are trying to get the services, and ensuring that this funding is put in every single organization across the whole city, from East Boston to Charlestown to Austin, Brighton, but also making sure that it's inclusive and all the information is being put in every single language. And more grant opportunities for organizations that are creating this work and who are uplifting our immigrant communities. And as an immigrant myself, this work is deeply rooted because I do it every day, in ensuring that our communities are well represented, that have the resources that they need in order to succeed. Thank you.
The beauty of going last is you hear everybody's idea. So obviously community organizations and nonprofits that are working with these communities need to be resourced, and they need to arm these populations with the knowledge so they know their rights first off. I do think there would be value in, we talk a lot about we are not going to work with ICE, but there should be some sort of liaison with ICE to see where they're going, what they're doing, because our Boston police, I believe, know the neighborhoods better than anybody. So if we're going to come in like cowboys, ICE, and start pulling things apart, if Boston police are there say, no, that's not where you want to go. I do believe we do need to get dangerous criminals off the street, but I think there is a role there for the Boston police. So it's resources, arm people with knowledge, and I also like Will's idea of educating people to stay off social media. Thank you.
This time, Mr. Baker, you can go first. Next question. Some local universities, like Northeastern, have fallen behind on pilot payments. I think that's most local universities. And if not negotiated your agreements, what will you do to ensure local universities pay their fair share in pilot payments? This pilot is payment in lieu of taxes.
Yes. Well, I think the most important role as a city councilor that I find in my experiences are those relationships. So I think people need to be going in and negotiating one-on-one, one-on-one groups of city people with places like Northeastern and BU, because they have to pay their freight. A lot of those places say they give in-kind donations. Let's really do an audit and see what the in-kind donations are and what we can get more from those places. It's also the hospitals and some of the other museums. It's probably going to be difficult to get money from them, but the kids that are going to school, we're certainly not paying less for them to go to school. So I do believe that we should be in there taking a tough road with the places like Northeastern, Harvard, BC, whoever they are. Thank you.
The same way that we require and we fight for developers who are coming into our city to give affordable housing is the same way that we need to create for these own universities to be able to give what they need to the city of Boston. It's the same efforts that we need to put for these institutions. We need to be able to create more transparency. Yearly reviews of what's actually being given to the residents of our city, to our youth and to our kids, and maybe the money that they're putting into our neighborhoods, which is beyond important. Creating more apprenticeships, creating more pathways from our BPS, from all over our schools, making sure that our kids are the ones that are getting the full benefit, the community as well. But again, the same way that we are asking developers to do the same, we need to keep pushing harder for every single private institution who's benefiting from being in the city of Boston.
I think we need to reevaluate the pilot program. Look, I think it was, I believe it was the pilot community act, I apologize if I'm butchering the name, where it said back in fiscal year 2023, tax-exempt organizations just submitted or contributed 56% of what we're asking for. And let's remember, this is based off of their property value, which the last evaluation of their property value was back in 2010. So that's an issue. Our properties have gone up, the values have gone up, and they purchased more land. We need to go ahead and reevaluate their properties, and then, just like how my contemporaries say, go ahead and have full transparency, figure out exactly what community benefits are they asking for, and work with our organizations who's actually put in the fight towards the pilot program so we can make this work. 71% of our revenue when it comes to the city budget is coming from our taxes, our property taxes. If we're able to go ahead and optimize the pilot program, that can go ahead and subset a lot of the
I want to thank members of the Pilot Action Committee. I think that there are some folks in this room who have really done the work of holding the feet to the fire, of making sure we can have accountability in the pilot program. One of the things that we need to do, and that we had hearings on this, and we need to make sure that we are implementing it, is the definition of what it means to be a community benefit. There are some things that you have to pay that shouldn't be a community benefit, that are good neighbor payments. And then there are some things that are the but-for community benefits, that you wouldn't be doing this but for the requirement under the pilot program. So we have to get better at that definition. And we do need to make sure that we are collecting more and tying it more to, schools, schools, so that there's more of an incentive to see where the money is going. I'll just say that, at Harvard, they have a crest that says, on the facts, when they acknowledge the role of slavery in building the school, and they acknowledge the enslaved Black people who helped create Harvard, and they acknowledge that, but where's the money to really do the work of reversing that harm? Where's the money to make sure that we are building housing on campuses to prevent families from not being able to access triple-decker?
Great, thank you. I think, I agree with many of my colleagues here. One thing I'm very focused on here was that when I grew up in Mission Hill. If you know Mission Hill, you're surrounded by Northeastern, Wentworth, and a bunch of other universities, right? And what's happening is that a lot of the students that Council President just mentioned are living in the housing that was created for families, created for residents here. So we need to really make sure that continue to build relationships with our universities, but really require them to build on-campus housing, as the Council President said, to make sure that the housing that we have here in the city of Boston is being accessed by families, by our seniors, by our residents who are here. So that's something that I'm very focused on, and I think that the universities have a lot to pay when it comes to our housing crisis that we're seeing here in the city of Boston.
the payment in lieu of taxes is completely voluntary program, and it's not just colleges. I know we do spend a lot of time on the many colleges we have here in the city who have lots of money to give lots of community benefits, but it's our hospitals and museums also. And many do give a cash amount, and it is public. There is a website on the City of Boston where you can see all of the institutions that do not pay taxes but do contribute into the pilot program. So it is interesting. You should go on and look, and what has said before, the community benefits, what are they? I do think, and we've had hearings, and we will continue to have hearings on the council to really talk about how do you put a dollar value on a community benefit. My daughter played hockey at BLA, and they used the Northeastern rink. I know that Harvard, when they expand, they have lots of billions of dollars, and as they're expanding into Ulster, right, and that community often demands lots of things for their community, sometimes for their veterans, their seniors, things I appreciate that they advocate for. Sometimes it's building their
That's right. So I think this is the area where I feel we have the biggest opportunity to lead in, because we have too many people who are occupying space, and oftentimes our kids are walking by institutions that they can't even afford to put a little toe in, right? And I think that we give these institutions a pass every single time. We don't hold them accountable, which is why my office has been working alongside the Pilot Action Committee to establish an oversight committee that is led by the people so that we can hold these institutions accountable. And while I do appreciate that it is voluntary, at the end of the day, as the city council, we have the right and we have the ability to push people and to shame them into paying their fair share. Because it's unjust for us to walk by Northeastern, BU, Harvard, and be like, how can I get in there? And I think those are the things that we need to start doing, which is why my office is working on establishing an office of Inspector General so that we can continue to hold ourselves, the city and the city council, accountable to how we're getting money and spending our dollars here in the city of Boston. And that's right.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The simple answer to this question is enforcement. In 2007, Mayor Mejia started this program that we're talking about called in lieu of taxes, because he saw that the institutions were eating up all the city of Boston land and not paying their fair share in contributing to our communities. All we need to do is do enforcement. That's absolutely do. Pass legislation that forces them to pay their fair share. BU, Harvard, Harvard has bottom most of Ulster Brighton. If you look at the neighborhood of Mission Hill has been swallowed up by the institutions too, and none of them are paying their fair share. And only thing we have to do is pass legislation that forces them. That's it. Force them to pay their fair share in order for us to continue to sustain our communities, which we have given so much away to many of them. Thank you.
That's right. Mr. Onouha, you'll go first for this question. How will you make sure people can commute around the city safely? We're thinking about all modes of transportation. And what are your thoughts on bus and bike lanes?
Oh, thank you for that question. So I think the first thing that we have to do is continue our program with the MBTA that I will give credit to the current administration for working with the city to make sure that MBTA, the 23 and 28, are free, especially for our seniors and folks who aren't mobile and who need to get around the city of Boston, because transportation is a big thing. As far as bike lanes and bus lanes go, we could have done our bike lanes better. Anytime we have a city that is doing something like bike lanes, I just think we could have planned it better so we could have dealt more so with the traffic that's currently going on. Bike lanes are new. Mayor Mejia did do this in 2000, I want to say 5 or so. The first bike czar, her name was Karen Freed. She was the bike czar of the city of Boston. Bike lanes are not new. It's just that when we put them in this time, we did it without using city planners and not using traffic engineers. So we just have to look at how we do that, and we do it in such a way that it's going to make transportation possible.
I'm going to make an executive decision and give you 15 more seconds because bus lanes are important to the people who are in here. So bus lanes, yes or no?
Yes.
Councilor Mejia.
Okay. So I think one of the things that I've been pushing for on the city council is making sure that people are at the center of whatever decisions are being made about your streets. It's your tax dollars, it's the streets that you're going to be walking on. And you have to be the one that's driving whatever decision. And that's one size fits all. Because what works for West Roxbury is different than what works for Roxbury. And I think what we have to do is get back into that mode and allow people to be participants in redesigning their streets so that people don't feel like things are being done to them without them. In regards to the bus lane, my office is in 2022, we held the first town hall in regards to the center bus lane down Blue Hill Ave. Because what we wanted to do is follow behavior. Let the people have a voice in what they want to see. Now, because a lot of people don't feel heard, on June the 10th, our office is now organizing alongside folks who are pro and against bus lanes, the center bus lane down Blue Hill Ave, to determine for themselves and to get on the record what we should be doing on Blue Hill Ave. That is what it looks like when we do
bike lanes, yes or no?
Like I said, it has to be local and people, it can't be one side.
All right, thank you. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you. So both bus and bike lanes, I think they're okay if they're going to ease traffic and make streets safer. But we've seen that every street and every neighborhood is different, and many of the bus and bike lanes that have gone in, the neighbors aren't happy about it. They feel as though they weren't part of the conversation. I think it's important that we don't just wake up one day and find out that our streets look different and we didn't have a say in it. I called for a hearing to address the speed humps, which I believe are tied into all of this because it's about traffic safety. Waiting to have that hearing, but also there was a 30-day study done, called for that hearing also to really look at what data did we find. Because some neighborhoods, as soon as they got speed humps, they got bike lanes, they were torn out. So certain neighborhoods, if their voices are louder or the administration is listening to them, they seem to get the traffic safety calming measures or the bus and bike lanes that they want, and other neighbors in different neighborhoods in different parts of the city are feeling as though these things are being done to them and that their day-to-day commute is not changing.
Thank you, Councilor Santana.
Thank you. So just to answer the question directly, so I support both bike lanes and bus lanes. And I would say, I think I want to echo some of my colleagues' remarks. I think every decision that we make here in the city of Boston has to be done with community. And I think that's a lot of the conversations that we're seeing right now. Even in regards to bike lanes, right? I support bike lanes. I'm the chair of public safety and criminal justice of the Boston City Council. So my top priority is going to be our safety of people who are driving, people who are walking, people who are using bikes. That should be the number one priority. But I'm hearing from small business owners, right? Different people across the city about how bike lanes are affecting them or affecting their business. And those are the things that we need to be able to look at. Those are the conversations that we need to be able to have in partnership with the community. So although I do support it, there has to be a community process, and we need to be able to listen to the community, not just check a checkbox. And that's what I'm focused on.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to say ditto to that. I support bike lanes and bus lanes. I think it has to be a good community process. And we need to make sure, like, to listen to the community, maybe let's not put the bike lane here. Maybe this street is what makes the most sense. But I really do want to talk about safety. It is so important. Sometimes I take the MBTA home from City Hall. When I'm walking home from the train stop at the corner, I live right off of Cummins, so there's a whole Cummins redesign that, yes, the traffic is bad, but hopefully it's safe. We'll get a better Cummins highway at the end. I walk by a ghost bike, and a ghost bike is a bike where a biker was killed there. Right? If we can do what we can to look at the infrastructure of our city to prevent deaths, to prevent people from dying, so that we can share our streets, I think that's really important. So sometimes the bike lane, no. Should it be on this street? No. But can we put it on the side street? Can we figure out how to get people to their destination safely? I don't want to walk by no more ghost bikes. I don't want that. I don't want that for our children to say that someone died here because we didn't do our job in building a safer, better city for all of us.
Yeah, I concur with my colleagues here. I do support bike and bus lanes, but I'll go ahead and caveat this. There needs to be community process. That's community to be involved in the process here. You know, I live in the Emerson Square area and right off the, Cradling JP and Roxbury. We talk with a lot of people in that area. They support bike lanes. You go to different areas, you go to different neighborhoods, whether it's West Roxbury or South Boston, it might be a different tune, right? Just like how Councilor Mejia said, it can't be a one-size-fits-all. Just like how Councilor Louijeune said as well, we have to look at what fits best for that specific neighborhood. If it's going to impact small businesses, I'm a small business owner, right? If it's going to impact impact safety, if it's going to impact traffic in a negative way, then we need to talk to the neighborhood, because they're the subject matter experts, and figure out exactly what's the best place where we can be able to put these bike lanes in. Thank you.
Ms. Valdez.
I'll go a lot of the comments that have been made here, but I'll go a little bit extra. We need to create comprehensive transportation plans for each neighborhood. Every neighborhood should be looking into their own transportation plans and their own study. Our streets should be safe for everyone, those who are in a stroller, who are walking, who are driving, who are biking. And our job is to make sure that we do exactly that. But we need to get out of the comfort zone of just doing meetings 9 to 5. We need to think about the people who are working 2 jobs, which is a lot of people in our community. We need to get out on the weekends, in the evening, walking with people, jogging with people. We need to meet people where they're at in order to better understand how we're structuring comprehensive transportation studies that are really going to fit for our community. And not just the people who go to the meetings on a weekly basis, but those who are often not there due to their jobs or extracurriculars that they have to do in their lives. We need to get out of our comfort zone and really create spaces where every single voice is heard, not just the ones that go to the meetings every single week.
Thank you. You said it, comprehensive planning. We need a plan for the entire city. How many times do you see a bike lane that just ends and then that bicyclist is merging with traffic? We need to look at transportation holistically. We're surrounded by the water. We have very few water transportation options. We have a whole series of abandoned tunnels that the T has that are 100 years old that we haven't even looked at. To answer the question, I absolutely believe there's value in bike lanes and bus lanes. I think the problem was with the rollout of them. We woke up one day and there were painted lines and posts. That's not real infrastructure, and it's also not safe for the biker or the person that's in their vehicle. Because don't forget, if the person in their vehicle harms a biker, their life has changed forever also. So value in both of those. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to yes or no questions. I think everybody has the paddle with a yes or no on it, and I will go first. So, no particular, everybody goes at the same time. First question, do you support rent control? And would you advocate for home, wait. Would you advocate for the Home for All Massachusetts rent control bill that would limit rent increases to inflation with a cap at 5% and ban no fault evictions, yes or no? Yes is for everybody except Will. Oh, I'm sorry.
More than one question.
Yeah, exactly.
Compound question, you want to know if you support rent control and you support the bill that would limit rent increases to inflation with a cap of 5% and ban no fault evictions.
Legislation, without seeing the legislation, know the legislation, I think it's somewhat of an unfair question. Let me just
Your colleagues are able to hold up signs. We're going to ask you to do the same. So hold them up, read them out.
Okay, there we go. So no from Mr. Onouha, no from Murphy, and no from Baker. Yes from everybody else.
Good job. Real estate industry groups are pushing to weaken Boston's newly updated inclusionary zoning policy, which currently requires 20% of units in market rate developments to be income restricted. Do you support the current policy? Do you need to read it again?
Yeah, please.
Real estate industry groups are pushing to weaken Boston's newly updated inclusionary zoning policy, which currently requires 20% of units in market rate developments to be income restricted. Do you support the current policy? Yes. Onouha. Yes. Mejia. Yes. Murphy. Yes. Santana. Yes. Louijeune. Yes. Mathelier. Yes. Valdez. No. Councilor Baker.
Next question. This one is simple. Do you support a fully elected school committee? Okay, so I'm not going to go for everybody's name, but no from no from Onouha, no from Alexandra Valdez, and no from former Councilor.
Do you support abolishing the Boston Police Department gang database?
Can you say that again, please?
Do you support abolishing the BPD gang database? No from Mr. Onouha, no from Councilor Murphy, no from Ms. Valdez, no from Mr. Baker.
Last question. Will you advocate and vote yes to approve a $4 million increase to the city rent subsidy program to provide permanent housing for 100 currently homeless families? And yeah, yes from everybody.
Marvin. The pilot cycle had $2 million for participatory budgeting. Residents were not happy with this amount and have been consistent in asking for 1% of the budget to be determined via participatory budgeting. Will you commit to sponsoring city council amendments to increase participatory budgeting funds?
Yes. Are you saying how much or just?
Will you commit to sponsoring city council amendments to increase participatory budgeting funds? That's what I got. I see yes, 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 yes. Frank Baker, what do you
I've got a long answer there.
Your colleagues are able to say yes or no. I'm going to give you one more time. All right, that concludes our yes or no. Y'all can tell us in your closing statements.
Closing statements, everybody has 60 seconds, and rules apply. You're going to be clapping, that's your signal to conclude. We're going to start with Councilor Baker.
15 seconds?
60 seconds.
Oh, 60 seconds, sorry. Thank you everybody for having me here tonight. Thank you for the questions. It was really a good experience for me. I'm a little out of practice, but my name's Frank Baker. I spent 12 years on the city council. I think I made a pretty good name for myself for constituent service, being responsive to the people that were in my district. I fought hard for the people in my district. I think that I'm going to go in there with common sense and experience. I think something that happens when you're elected to the state representatives, the state house, you have a whole series of things that you're able to go through, trainings to teach you how to be an elected. We don't do that. We never did that on the city council, and I think there needs to be something like that. So we can learn how to interact with the public, learn how to talk to the media, learn the budget, learn the tax levy, learn those things, so we can have a body, I think, that is able to work together better. Thank you. Please consider me for one of your votes in September.
Thank you so much, and thank you for everyone who organized this event and for all of you for being here despite the rain. As a mother to a beautiful 3-year-old, as an immigrant from the Dominican Republic, and as a proud public servant for the last 10 years, Boston has allowed me to learn, to thrive, but most of all, to give back in every way, shape, or form. My experience in public service shapes the vision for Boston, where every single person feels heard, every neighborhood, despite the zip code where you live in. It is my pleasure to continue to do that work. I serve our communities, I build programs, I lead policies, but most of all, I lead and I do all this work with love for all of you and for our city. And as your next city council at large, and I hope to earn one of your 4 at-large roles, I am ready to do that on day 1. To continue championing for the city of Boston, and to continue upholding and uplifting the voices that are too often left behind. Thank you.
Thank you all for this opportunity. Pilot Action Committee, I apologize for earlier for butchering the name earlier. First and foremost, as I said before, my name is Marvin Mathelier. Been serving in the United States Marine Corps for 16 years, and I've had the opportunity to lead and serve Marines. And through that opportunity, where I've been able to meet people from all different walks of life, I believe that I have something I could bring to the table when it comes to City Hall. Like I said earlier today, things like integrity, accountability, transparency, it's not something that I just said. It's something that's part of me because of the development and my leadership. I'm a small business owner. I'm the son of Haitian immigrants, and I'm a proud father of 3 young, beautiful kids who should be sleeping right now. And when you vote for me, and I get to City Hall, this is a team effort. Keep me accountable. Make sure I'm hitting a target. And if I'm not hitting a target, call me out on it. I know you will. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we are doing right by the city, and I want to be your voice at City Hall. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the organizers for this opportunity to gather. I love serving this city. I serve with my whole heart. I wake up thinking about how we make the city better, answering texts, making sure we are helping people with all of their problems. I get people like I'm like, I can help you. I don't know what the issue is, but call me and we will find a way to solve them. I'm a problem solver. For 4 years, I've been solving the problems that constituents come to me, and we solve them together. Do we always get all the answers on the first day? No, but we will work to get the right answer. It is a joy for me to serve as the president of this body, and I do ask for your vote in September and again in November. I am a daughter of Haitian immigrants who came and believed in this city. I continue to believe in this city, and I believe in everyone in this room, and I believe in your children, and I believe in what we can become when we do the work of sharing the prosperity and the wealth of this city, of which there is an abundance. And I want us to believe that to reject the zero-sum game and believe that we can invest in all of our neighborhoods and in all of our communities, rooted in equity and justice. That's the work, and I'm honored to do it every day. Thank you.
Great, thank you again. My name is Santana, and I hope to earn one of your 4 votes coming coming September and November. And again, my #1 priority is our youth and really trying to be representative of the next generation that's coming. That's what I've been doing since day one. That's what I'll continue to do. And that's what's on the ballot this upcoming election. Is someone who is from the city, someone who grew up in public housing, who understands those issues, and someone who has invested their entire career to give it back to their community. Someone who fights hard, who works hard. That's a promise that I've made and show up in every single neighborhood. And I think this election we have a lot to consider, and I know that you all will hold us, all of us here accountable. Again, it's an honor to be able to be one of your at-large city councilors. I love this job. I want to be able to continue doing it, and I hope to earn one of your 4 votes this upcoming election. Thank you.
Thank you to the moderators, everyone who came out. I'm Erin Murphy. I'm one of your at-large city councilors. I've been on the council for the last 4 years. I've been a proud public servant in the city of Boston for over 30 years. I love the city, born and raised here, raised my children. I'm the proud mother of a Boston public school teacher, a union worker, and my older son is an Army infantryman. And so I'm proud of my children. I'm proud of the family that I uplift every day. I say go to work every day to uplift the families across every neighborhood in the city of Boston. I think it's also important to say that at-large city councilors are very different than district councilors. District councilors have borders, they have lines. I represent all the neighborhoods across the city. And our job also is to keep the administration accountable, to make sure that we're pushing back and asking the hard questions. So sometimes I do have to file hearing orders, ask for 17Fs and get answers, because it is our responsibility fiscally to make sure that we're spending money properly and that we're making sure every neighborhood, every city, every school has the resources across the city to represent properly. So please, I need you to
All right, y'all. So thank you so much. This is what it looks like when we show up to really listen and learn, and who is going to have our best interest. As your at-large city councilor, I was the first Afro-Latina, the first Dominican ever elected here as a city council, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. For me, this work is about my lived experience. I understand what it's like to dodge bullets every single day. I don't come from theory or practice. I live it, and this is what the city needs right now, is somebody who's going to stand up, speak truth to power, be unapologetic about who it is that I'm here to serve, and do so with the passion that this moment is calling for. And I'm going to tell you this, I am your independent voice that's going to show up and fight. There are going to be fights that people are not going to want to take on, but you know in me, I am going to always stand up and fight for what is right, because that is what the point is. I hope that we can win your 4 votes. At the end of the day, nothing about us without us is for us. And know that when you got me in office, I will continue to fight for you all day and day.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my name is Onouha, and I'm running for City Council at large. I'm asking for one of you to get 4 votes. But here's the thing. Currently, right now, our city, we are in a battle for the soul of our city. It's up to every person in this room to make sure on September 9th, you vote for experience. You need someone that's going to hit the ground running on day one. Someone that understands the city, someone that has done this work, someone that has served the city for 20 years, someone that knows the ins and outs of what it takes to build the city, keep the city going. But more importantly, we need a boss and custodian. We've given too much of our city away. We need a city that is going to be here and represent the people that want to be here, the people that live here, the people that want to work here, raise their families here. So please, I'm asking for your vote on September 9th and on September 4th. If you want to have a city and a city council that's here to fight for you and your family, your grandchildren, and your children. Thank you very much. I'm Onouha, and I approve this message.
All right, folks, give them a round of applause. So just to wrap this up, folks, again, there's going to be another forum that we're hosting on May 28th, next Wednesday, but for mayoral candidates. So if you want to see the same vibe, but with our mayoral candidates, come out. It's going to be at Fritz Hall in Grove Hall. So come on out. And for now, just wrap up and head home and talk to your friends. Thank you for coming out. Shout out to our moderators.